I have run 100 kilometers across the dozens of cities around the world, from the humid, unforgiving heat of Florida to the steepy hills and challenging streets of Tbilisi. And as both a lifelong runner and a doctor, I can understand exactly how running conditions can affect your body, your energy, and your performance. Running in a new city can become an unforgettable adventure. Or complete disaster if you make wrong choices. Are you ready? Go. 1, 2, 3, let's go! And today I'm breaking down 10 proven trail running hacks that help you to protect your body, run further, stay safe, and actually enjoy every mile wherever you land. Hello friends, this is special edition of Running Cities. As usual, press like, subscribe my channel, lace up, and let's get into it. So, tip number 1, dress for the weather, don't dress for photos. Let's begin with something that sounds obvious, but many runners still get wrong: clothing. When you run, your body produces a lot of heat. That means you should usually dress as if the temperature were slightly warmer than it actually is. If you put on too many layers, you may feel comfortable during the first few minutes, but very soon you will start overheating. This becomes especially important in hot and humid places like Orlando or other parts of Florida. Humidity makes it harder for sweat to evaporate, and when sweat cannot evaporate efficiently, your body cannot cool itself properly. Choose lightweight, breathable clothing that doesn't hold moisture. Avoid heavy cotton shirts because they absorb sweat, become uncomfortable, and may cause skin irritation. Light-colored clothing is also better under strong sunlight because it absorbs less heat. And never forget sun protection. Use sunscreen on your face, neck, ears, shoulders, arms, and any exposed skin. A lightweight cap can protect your face, and good sunglasses can reduce glare and protect your eyes. In very hot weather, it's better to run early in the morning or closer to sunset. The goal isn't to prove that you can survive difficult conditions. The goal is to finish the run safely and feel good afterward. Tip number 2. Look for green roads. When I arrive in a new city, I don't immediately choose the most famous street or the shortest road. First, I look for green areas. Parks, riverside paths, botanical gardens, trails, and tree-lined neighborhoods are usually more comfortable and enjoyable for running. They often have less traffic, fewer intersections, cleaner air, more shade, and softer running surfaces. Atlanta is a perfect example. The city has busy roads and heavy traffic, but it also has beautiful green spaces such as Piedmont Park and many connected walking and running trails. Before you run, open a map and search for words such as park, trail, greenway, riverwalk, or bedline. You can also use running apps to see popular roads used by local runners. A road that looks short and simple on a regular map may be full of traffic lights, hills, construction, or narrow sidewalks. A popular running road usually gives you a better idea of where it's safe and comfortable to run. Green places also make running mentally easier. When you are surrounded by trees, water, and open space, you think less about distance and fatigue. Sometimes the best running road is not the fastest road, it's the road that makes you want to keep going. Tip number 3. Make night running visible and predictable. Running after dark can be exciting, especially in a lively city like Nashville. The streets look completely different at night. There are lights, music, crowds, and a special atmosphere. But running at night requires extra attention. The first rule is simple: you must be visible. Wear bright clothing of reflective elements. A reflective vest, light-colored shirt, illuminated armband, or small running light can make a huge difference. Don't assume that a driver can see you just because you can't see the car. At intersections, try to make eye contact with drivers before crossing. Even if the light is green for you, wait until you are sure the driver has noticed you. Run against traffic when there is no sidewalk so you can see approaching vehicles. Avoid dark shortcuts, empty parking areas, isolated alleys, and unfamiliar streets. It's also better to choose a road with good lighting, open businesses, pedestrians, and regular traffic. Keep the volume in your headphones low or use only one earbud. You need to hear cars, bicycles, footsteps, warnings, and changes around you. And always tell someone where you are going, especially when you are running in a city you do not know well. Night running can be safe and enjoyable, but only when you stay visible, alert, and predictable. Tip number 4. Use running as a city tour. Many people stop running when they travel. They say they are tired, they have no time, they don't know the road, or they are worried that their pace will be slower than usual. But a trail run does not have to be a training session. It can be an excursion. When I run through cities such as Charlotte, I am not always thinking about speed. I'm looking at buildings, parks, stadiums, streets, people, and local details that I would never notice from a car. You can stop to take a photo, you can slow down near the interesting landmark, you can walk up a steep hill and then continue running. Your pace doesn't matter. The most important thing is to stay active and experience the city in a different way. A 5-kilometer run allows you to see much more than a normal walk, but you are still moving slowly enough to notice the atmosphere around you. Prepare a simple road before leaving your hotel, include 2 or 3 landmarks, and make sure you know how to return. Don't make the road too complicated. Trail running should not feel like another responsibility. It should feel like part of the trip. You are not losing training time, you are combining training, sightseeing, and adventure in one experience. Tip number 5. Shorten your stride on cobblestones. Historic cities are beautiful, but they can be challenging for runners. Cobblestone streets like those in Lviv and many European cities are uneven, hard, and sometimes slippery. The biggest mistake is trying to run on them with the same stride you use on a smooth road. On cobblestones, shorten your stride and slightly increase your cadence. This means taking smaller, quicker steps instead of long, powerful ones. A shorter stride keeps your feet closer to the ground and gives you better control. Look several meters ahead rather than directly at your shoes. This helps you notice holes, wet stones, carps, and changes in the surface. At the same time, occasionally check the area directly in front of you. Keep your knees slightly relaxed and avoid locking your legs. Your body should be ready to absorb small changes in the ground. Slow down when turning because cobblestones can become extremely slippery when wet. Also be careful near all sidewalks and metal covers, which may be even more slippery than the stones themselves. You don't need to maintain your normal pace on a difficult surface. Losing a few seconds is much better than twisting an ankle and losing several weeks of running. Tip number 6. Choose comfortable shoes for run. Your running shoes can completely change the experience of a run. This is especially true when you are traveling and running on unfamiliar surfaces. For long runs or city runs, comfort is usually more important than speed. Choose shoes with enough cushioning, good stability, and enough room for your toes. Your feet may swell slightly during longer runs, especially in hot weather, so shoes that feel very tight at the beginning may become painful later. Don't take brand new shoes on an important trip and immediately run a long distance in them. Even excellent shoes need time to adapt to your feet. Run in them several times before traveling. The type of surface also matters. Highly cushioned road shoes are comfortable on asphalt and sidewalks, but they may feel unstable on wet stones, grass, or uneven trails. Shoes with slightly better grip are more useful when your road includes different surfaces. And remember that expensive shoes don't automatically mean perfect shoes. The best running shoe is the one that fits your foot, your running style, and your road. If something hurts after every run, don't simply accept it. Sometimes the problem isn't your body, sometimes it's the shoe. So guys, if you have already mentioned, today I'm not in a Running Cities t-shirt on a launch of Soccer World Cup 2026. Today I wear t-shirt of my favorite football player of all times, Roberto Baggio. It's you see that, and this is his T-shirt from Soccer World Cup 1994. So write in the comments which national team is your favorite in 2026 and who is your favorite player. So let's go further. Tip number 7: use your body correctly on heels. Steep streets can destroy your rhythm very quickly, especially in places such as Tbilisi and other Georgian cities. The secret is not to fight the heel, you need to adjust your technique. When running uphill, slightly shorten your stride and increase your cadence. Don't try to jump forward with every step. Think about moving smoothly and consistently. Lean slightly forward from your ankles, not from your waist. If you bend too much at the waist, you compress your chest, make breathing more difficult, and place extra tension on your lower back. Keep your chest open and your shoulders relaxed. Use your arms more actively. Your arms help create rhythm and support forward movement. Don't focus only on the top of the hill because it may make the climb feel endless. Look several meters ahead and divide the hill into smaller sections. You can also slow down without stopping completely. On a very steep climb, fast walking may sometimes be more efficient than forcing yourself to run blindly. Running uphill is not about maintaining the same pace, it's about maintaining a controlled effort. The hill will slow you down. That's normal. Your goal is to reach the top without completely exhausting yourself. Tip number 8: use talk tests to control your pace. One of the easiest ways to check your running intensity is the talk test. You don't need a laboratory or complicated calculation or expensive equipment. Try to say a complete sentence while running. For example, today I'm running through a new city and I still feel comfortable. If you can say the sentence without struggling, you are probably running at a controlled aerobic effort. If you can only say 2 or 3 words before gasping for air, your pace may be too fast for an easy endurance run. The aerobic zone is important because it helps develop endurance and allows your body to use oxygen efficiently. Many runners make every run too hard. They believe that if they are not completely exhausted, their training is not effective. But easy running is not useless running. In fact, controlled easy runs help you build endurance, recover better, and run more consistently. You can still include faster sessions, intervals, or hills on specific days, but not every run should feel like a competition. When you're traveling, the talk test is especially useful because heat, hills, humidity, lack of sleep, and jet lag can all affect your normal pace. Listen to your breathing, not only to the number of your watch. Tip number 9: let your arms help your legs. Many runners pay close attention to their legs but almost completely ignore their arms. Your arms play an important role in balance, rhythm, and forward movement. Keep your elbows bent at approximately 90 degrees, but don't force them into an exact position. Your hands should move forward and backward, not across your chest. When your arms cross too much in front of your body, your torso rotates, energy is wasted, and your running becomes less efficient. Keep your hands relaxed. Imagine that you are holding something light and delicate. Don't make tight fists because tension in your hands often spreads to your shoulders and neck. When your legs start to feel tired, focus on your arms. Slightly increase the rhythm of your arm movement. Your legs often follow the rhythm created by your upper body. These can help you maintain cadence during the final part of your run or while climbing a hill. But active arm movement doesn't mean wild arm movement. Your shoulders should remain low and relaxed. Efficient running is not about using more energy anywhere. It's about directing your energy in the right way. And finally, tip number 10. Keep your body tall and relaxed. And it's very important. The final tip is about posture. When runners become tired, they often begin to collapse forward. Their head moves down, their shoulders become rounded, their hips move backward, and their stride becomes heavy. A slight forward lean can be useful, but it should come from the ankles. Don't bend strongly from the waist. A strong forward bend increases tension, affects breathing, and may place additional pressure on your knees, hips, and lower back. Imagine that there is a string gently pulling the top of your head upward. Keep your eyes forward, your chest open, and your shoulders relaxed. Your head should remain in a natural position, not pushed forward. Don't try to make your body completely rigid. Good posture should feel tall but relaxed. Every few minutes, perform a quick body check. Ask yourself, are my shoulders relaxed? Are my hands loose? Am I looking forward? Am I leaning from the ankles or bending at the waist? These small corrections can help you maintain better technique, especially during the final kilometers when fatigue begins to change your form. So guys, it was the final tip for today. If you liked this video and if you would like to have more videos similar to this, write in the comments and I will try to do my best. So for today it's enough. I want to remind you that you have enough time to guess the next running city. There is a challenge. You remember it from previous video. So once again, press like, subscribe my channel, and see you in the next running city. Have a good day, guys. Bye.